Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Glad you guys could make it this morning. Sorry I was a little bit late. We were just having a discussion in the chat and just making sure everything was running smoothly. And it seems as though it is. Everybody's, talking and contributing and sharing information. Someone suggested that we should be spending time in the Word, and you absolutely should be spending time in the Word outside of this channel. Even though we cover biblical concepts and verses every single show, one show we actually counted them just because sometimes people try to play gotcha and they say he doesn't focus on the Bible, and then we actually counted and we had covered, without even trying, about 15 biblical concepts. And even though we don't look those up in the standard format that many people are accustomed to when they're Bible studying, the New Testament says that the word is written on our hearts. You should be able to recall these verses from memory without going chapter and verse in the typical concept. So when people don't see that, it sometimes can seem like we're not based in the word, and actually we really are. And then at that point, typically what I do is after I show, I do a show, I will dig deeper into the biblical concepts and verses that we talked about. You can go right here onto Bible Hub or Bible Gateway are two of my favorite places to go, and you can actually do word searches on some of the concepts just to ensure that we're on the right track, and I encourage you to do that. One typical example that I like to use is the trees, and that is a really fun study to do. If you go in and type in trees in Bible Hub or Bible Gateway, it confirms a lot of the work we've been talking about twisted spiral portals and trees being like people and all these kinds of things. So I do encourage that. You shouldn't just be watching this channel. You should be digging deeper. That's the whole point of this channel, is to dig deeper, to, get to the bottom of some of these interpretations of the Bible that were hidden from us by our own church, so they could dumb us down and draw us under the pagan foundations that the enemy has set up, which is still celebrating the holidays and all these things that God hates, right? They still do this in the church today. And then also bringing us under the 501c3, which is basically not being able to talk about the things that really matter to God, like abortion, like war. So that's what we do here. If you're new to the channel, and I welcome every single person that comes in, and that's what we're based on. We believe in Jesus Christ. We believe in Yeshua, Yahushua. We believe that he hears our voice. My sheep will hear my voice, even if some of us get the name wrong. So we don't fight over the name here. And so, because Jesus wouldn't want us to do that now, would he? No, he wouldn't. And all the people that maybe got the name wrong up to this point, he did hear their voice, and he did love them. So those are just a couple things. The community is a strange place these days. You got people trying to pick off channels, and it's crazy. Like I'm talking about in terms of, concepts and playing gotcha with other channels and telling people don't go to that channel or don't go to this channel. My viewpoint is go to the channels that you want to go to, and you know them by their fruit. We have really good fruit here, don't we? We have a large group of you guys that we get to fellowship every single day, which is amazing. You keep coming back, and our group is growing every single week. Slowly, but it's still growing. And I'm proud of you guys because of how your behavior on other channels. Even when you see people throwing us under the bus, you still try to be nice. And that means a lot. That means that our fruit is good, doesn't it? Slow to anger, slow to judgment. And hey, do your thing. If your thing is this, go do it and see how your fruit turns out. That's what I encourage. I'm done like condemning other channel. I'm just not. It's been a long road, you guys. We've learned a lot of lessons, haven't we? We've gone toe to toe, and I don't want to do that anymore. Okay, and we did it in the past, and we have to try and be slow to anger. That's what this is about. Now, I'm glad you guys enjoyed the marathon playlist shows. We've been doing marathon playlists. And I know it's a little bit confusing because I'm actually when I play those playlist shows, I'm actually back there, running the show. I'm still doing that, and I'm in the chat. But like if there's some slow areas in some of the videos in the playlist, I'll fast forward through that. And so just know that if you hear some skipping going on, that's me behind the scenes, skipping over or fast forwarding to the next video and stuff like that, just to keep the flow going. Because playlists, the way you add them is you have to actually, it might have some topics that are related to the playlist subject, but a lot of times it's mixed up with a lot of other stuff. So that's what's going on. So we've been doing these marathon playlists, and some of them go 3 and 4 hours. And I usually choose an off day, like a Sunday, where, you guys are hanging out or getting caught up on housework, and you just want to put it on and listen and then pop in and out of the chat. You don't have to feel rushed, like you have to run to the chat and like you're going to miss something. It's just there. It's there for several hours. You can pop in and out, and we can fellowship and cover biblical concepts. And we're going to be doing these once or twice a week. Thanks to the channel member that just joined. Who is this? This is Kay. Thanks, Kay, so much. I think Kay is new to the channel, so everybody welcome her. So we're going to be doing these playlists once or twice a week. They seem to be pretty popular. I'm thinking because many of the videos in the playlists go all the way back to the beginnings of the channel, when we were on our little Acer laptop, no mic. I was just talking into the little laptop, right? Little tiny thing. Went back all the way to 2014 and before, so you can hear the horrible sound quality in it, and you can hear the fan going on the laptop. But the information was stunning because it really shows the continuity of the work that all of us have been involved in, precept by precept, and how almost every single element of it has been confirmed over and over again and validated. We're not just throwing things against the wall over here. We're trying to get down to the bottom of things with the guidance of the Holy Spirit and working together as the body of Christ. That's what we're doing here. This isn't a cult. This isn't some place where I tell you guys to do certain things or, tell you to put on white robes or something. No, we're all just hanging out, which is what the Bible tells us we're supposed to do. Do not forsake fellowshipping. So, a lot of the work, almost all of it's been validated. A lot of the CERN work we did over the weekend, I was even stunned. I was like, whoa, look at these concepts coming back up that I didn't even plan on that happening. It just happens. Thanks, spread the message. I really appreciate it. She needs prayers for her children. Please pray for her children, you guys. And I believe in the power of prayer, that God's will be done in our lives, and that will involves our happiness and our growth and learning. So pray for her in private. I don't think we're supposed to pray on the street corners, which is why I don't do public prayer here on the channel. It says, do not be like the hypocrites who pray on the street corners, but we can pray for each other individually. So, working all together has led us into many of these truths that God is revealing to us. It's been an amazing journey, hasn't it? We lost our channel back in 2017. We got it back a year later. We've had entire channels defunded. We've had strikes every probably 6 months or so. And so we've powered through it. Why have we powered through it? Because we're here for the right reasons, aren't we? And God has our back. Now, today's show is going to be about an hour total, and we're going to cover some scenes from the Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon series, as well as the Equinox series. Some of you asked me to look at that again, which is all about Cernunnos' sacrifice. This is who the elite worship, the horned god. Now, Satan is legion, so he's got many different forms. He does that so he can be like God, right? He wants to be all things. So he has thousands and thousands of gods. He has Baal, he has Cernunnos, he has Apollo. Hopefully you can wrap your brain around that concept, because in taking on all of those identities, he can reach more people, can't he? And this is why we have to expose every single one. Now, before we get into some of those series that I just mentioned, I have a few phone booth updates to cover. Now, these were sent in from you guys. Now, what is the phone booth about? Now, I love the participation we get on this channel. Every single day, I review all the comments in the chat, and I find where to go next. That's how we run the channel here. And it's all from all of you guys. And so it's a lot of fun. And because, 114,000 heads are better than one, isn't it? I'm not here to be any kind of person that tells you that I'm the best and I know every single thing and I'm never wrong. Absolutely not. So we finally figured out what the phone booth in all these time travel films and TV shows really is all about. It's really a mockery against the Most High and the Feast of Booths is what it really is. And so the enemy has all these little jokes, these little side jokes that he does to try and mock the Most High. But he won't get away with it, will he? He will not get away with it because God said he will not be mocked. And so simple observation tells us something when we look at the phone booths. Superman in the phone booth. Bill and Ted in the phone booth. Doctor Who in the phone booth. Neo in the phone booth. Booths are portals. And it goes on and on and on. Get Smart in the phone booth. Now, it goes a little bit deeper because we also realize that the Twin Towers were scale models of a phone booth that is 17.76 feet tall. And when we realize that, just doing some simple math on the side-by-side dimensions of a phone booth and turning it into a scale model of the Twin Towers, we realize the phone booth would be 17.76 feet tall, which is the exact size of the new Freedom Tower. We realized that we had unlocked another level to the Matrix, hadn't we? That phone booths were essentially aluminum-framed booths full of money, just like the Twin Towers are aluminum-framed booths full of money. And that 9/11 was a ritual portal event to open the pit for demons to come through. Now we're going to take a look at these scenes in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, all the scenes of them jumping in and out of these phone booths, and what you're going to see is the phone booths appearing as twin pairs. Now I'm going to kind of skip through this a bit because I don't want to catch copyright on both the music and the scenes, but you'll see what I'm talking about. Now remember, when these twin phone booths appear, what they essentially are is full of copper. All money, all coins, it has a copper core in it. You can look this up. We're not going to go back over that for the sake of time. But all coins have a copper core, except for the penny, which is copper coated. So, copper is Nakash, Nakasheth, the serpent, the bronze serpent on a pole, who is basically the counterfeit healer, the Caduceus. The real healer is Christ on the pole, the true red blood Son of God, Yeshua. So here we have our first twin tower. Now, if you want to do the math yourself to confirm what I said a few minutes ago about these being scale models of the Twin Towers, the standard dimension of a phone booth is 2.7. It's actually 2.66666, but if you round it to 2.7 by 2.7, it's a perfect square. And the height, I can't remember what the height, I think it's 7 feet is the height of these phone booths. But when you do like a, for some of you that are still good at math, I know math is, I had to go look all this up. But basically, when you take the 2.7 by 2.7, it basically becomes a scale model think it's 77 feet wide for the Twin Towers, I think is what we came up with. And 17.76 feet tall, 1776, the height of the Freedom Tower. So we knew that this was what this was. Now let's keep watching here, because this isn't the only pair of towers. Now you'll notice that they get kind of destroyed, or they disappear. And that's exactly what happened to the Twin Towers. They turned into dust.
Oh, I hate that part.
Gentlemen.
It just fell. It fell in its own footprint. Let's watch that again.
Gentlemen.
Wow. I didn't even see that part. Was not planning on that being part of the show. But essentially, what you have here is a foretelling of the future. The Twin Towers, aluminum, full of money, trade, world trade. One falling in its footprint.
Gentlemen.
Wow. What do you guys think about that? Let's get some feedback from you guys, and we'll continue on with this. Just shocking. Shocking. Now, you have to have spiritual eyes to see this kind of stuff, don't you? Not everybody just sees these things. But, I mean, is there any one person in the room that thinks that that's a stretch? Free fall speed, right there, before it ever happened. Wow. Just unbelievable. I should get some feedback from you guys before we move on here. Some of you are like mind blown. Wow. Yes, that's their magic. They already know. I don't know. Now, I haven't figured it out. Are they seeing into a crystal ball in the future, or are they just making the events happen so they can look like God? This is what I'm unsure about at this point. So let's keep going with this, because this isn't the only time you see these twin pairs. Wow, it's like every time. Now, somebody sent this to me. I didn't go, oh, I'm going to keep digging into the phone booth because I'm just going to make it fit. I'm going to stretch it. I didn't do that. One of you said, Casey, you have to look at this. It's a compilation of all the clips from Bill and Ted's. You sent this to me, this link. And I didn't even see them falling down in their footprint the first time. I'm just seeing it right now. Maybe that's why you sent this to me. But this is why I always tell you guys, when you send me stuff, please give me 2 sentences. Uh-oh. Why is that doing that? Uh-oh. Make sure we're still connected. Give me 2 sentences. Otherwise, some of this stuff goes right over my head. Because I don't know everything. I rely on you guys. So don't assume that I'm going to know it. Okay? Don't assume that. So, the person that sent this to me probably assumed that I knew that they were falling into their footprint, but I missed it just until now. Let's keep watching. Now notice the electromagnetic activity, and this is how I believe that they did it. They used some kind of Tesla tech. John Trump got it from Tesla, but here's the big secret. They already knew each other and were already working together on these super weapons, because John Trump was working on radio, the infancy of EMFs and millimeter waves. That's what he was looking at for radar for the military. But now we have the millimeter waves as our part of our network, don't we? So what's the connection there is the question. I think I know. And you're going to have to think about that. But look at this. E.T. phone home. Right? It was a portal for him to get back home. There's something to this, and they're not telling us. And so you've got this electromagnetic frequency dustifying the phone booths into their own footprint. Unbelievable. I think that's the first time we had discovered this on the channel. Look at that. So more twin outhouses. See this? The baños, which means toilet. The pan, bañas, which is where Pan is, his grotto. It's called the bañas. Unbelievable. So there you go. Shocking, isn't it? Now, we also realize that twin pairing, which is what this is all about, really means possession. It's a spirit infecting a host body. In effect, it twins the person. It splits them into two. This is what they're trying to do to us. It's just like Danny in The Shining. Remember this scene here? Danny was split into two, wasn't he? Danny was split into two because of trauma after his dad twisted his arm. It was Danny, and then he had Tony the tiger that lived inside of him, like a paperclip, a smaller part of him inside the bigger part of him, which is the shape of a paperclip. The splitting, twinning. Now in this scene, Danny enters the game room, and he starts throwing arrows into the chest, or darts, at the dartboard. The tip of the spear. Just like Apollo. I believe we've unlocked another one of the secrets from The Shining. Apollo is the tip of the spear. He brought the disease and he brings the cure. Now, Danny's in the game room. He throws his Apollo darts at the dartboard. I looked at the numbers that it hit. Some of them were off the numbers. I think there's a 17 down there, number 2. He's like up here. And I didn't really see anything in those numbers. Some of you are super sleuths. Oh, look here. What is this? I can think this shows where... Oh, look at this. Someone says it says 237. 237. This is actually supposed to be another number 17. Unless they did something with the board. But Stanley Kubrick was renowned for hiding things in plain sight. Very detailed in the movies that he did. And the symbolism, every single prop and every single element in these movies had meaning. And he admits that. So it's all fair game, isn't it? So now we realize Danny is Apollo. Now just after this scene, the twins come into the game room. Just after he grabs the dart out of the dartboard, the twins appear. Remember, the twins are the Twin Towers, and they're standing next to a phone booth. And this confirms this splitting or twinning association with phone booths. Right? It represents transformation. Clark Kent inside of Superman. Neo inside of a superhuman fighter. You understand now? The phone booth is it's the pathway, it's the portal. Now, back here it says Monarch on a poster. Monarch programming, which is MK Ultra, causing trauma, part of the paperclip program, causing trauma to cause a split in the personality. Now we see this on display with the celebrities. We see them melt down and everybody talks about it, but has anyone ever made this connection? Monarch programming. Now here's where things go off the rails, as we always say, right? Because it seems to always go off the rails. All this money passing through. That's a bad image there. We got to find a better one. So creepy. Now these two twins were at the Queen's funeral, weren't they? And someone thought to interview them. Just creepy. But here's what I wanted to show you. So we have the phone booth over here. And all of that money, where does it go? It's circulated, isn't it? Touched by the energy of people striving for it. Changing hands. Millions and millions of people, not millions, I don't know how long or how many people touch a coin, for instance. But it gathers energy. Copper gathers energy. We've talked about the very bizarre properties of copper. Eddy currents. How it reacts to neodymium magnets. It's almost they actually call it a living, breathing metal. Now imagine the energy of all the people coming in contact with this copper. And I wonder if when this copper is pulled out of circulation, if they're harvesting it somehow. World trade. Now, what else do we have here? There are other twins in the Shining film. There were other twins. In fact, there were several sets of twins. Here's one of them here. They walk out and they're about to leave because Jack's here now and he's going to be the caretaker at the hotel for the winter. So it's off season because it's so much snow that nobody can even ski because it's blizzard-like conditions. Now this channel, not this channel, but this site is called Collative Learning. And apparently this person has broken down many of the scenes in the Shining film and takes notice that there are twins that appear in The Shining that aren't the twins, the Grady twins that died. So they keep repeating the twins over and over again. Okay, let's read this. It says, aside from the obvious on-screen flashes of the twin ghost girls, Brad or Danny seeing their dead bodies, we are subliminally hinted of their presence several times when the Torrances are being shown around the hotel. At least 3 times we see women in pairs carrying luggage about. 2 of these pairs are heard wishing goodbye to Mr. Ullman. The most prominent link between these women and the twin girls is that the pair we see outside Jack's apartment are seen with a portion of hallway in the background that features the same blue and white flowered wallpaper that we see when the twins' dead bodies are revealed. So, they're taking note of the twins here at the Collative Learning website. What else is going on? Well, that's pretty much the update on the twin telephone booths. Did you know that 888 plus 888 is 1776? So, we have an 8-sided tower because they had beveled edges. So there's 4 sides, and then the beveled edges, that's another 4 sides. That's 8 sides. So 888 plus 888 is 1776, the height of the New Freedom Tower. And we know from research that 88 is time travel. It's a portal, 88 miles an hour, back to the future. How do they open these portals? Through sacrifice, causing a fracture in the human psyche through fear, which allows the demon in, splitting the person. Why do you think Jesus tells us, fear not, so many times? If you're living in fear, that means your faith isn't strong enough. You need to study up and pray in your faith. We shouldn't be afraid. If anything, we should be happy when the world's falling apart around us. Why? Because it means the end is close and we get to live forever with Jesus. There's nothing to be afraid of when it comes to that. And any suffering that you think that you're going to do, wouldn't it be worth it? Because you're going to have eternity on the other side. Who cares if you get out a little bit early before the tribulation? I don't care. I'm prepared either way, for a rapture or no rapture. Because the result on the other side is the rest of eternity. So don't get hung up on, the date setters and the rapture setters. All that's going to do when those dates come and go is chip away at your faith. That's all it's going to do. Just be ready either way. You might have to live out your whole life. But guess what? Your faith means that you have eternity, regardless of what happens. Now, let's get into some other aspects of today's show. Many of you had asked me why I don't celebrate holidays. And it's sad that a TV series is what it takes to wake some people up from the occult roots of the holidays. Because the Bible tells us all about these false gods. He tells us about the Easter god. He tells us about Apollo, the Christmas god. He tells us about the devil coming in many forms. But for some people, it takes seeing this depicted in a TV series before they wake up. Here's the series called Equinox. And it's essentially about a girl who goes missing after her and her friends go to an island, and she becomes basically the spring equinox Cernunnos Ishtar sacrifice in some kind of weird fertility ritual. Now, as I opened the show, we had just done a CERN marathon yesterday. So a series like this will help you put all these things in perspective, because Cernunnos is the horned god of the forest, the spring sacrifice. Now, it begins with this woman that you're going to see in a second here, who is investigating the disappearance of her older sister. Watch.
Det stammer fra en animist.
It's from an animalistic cult of gods, he says. And it's in a foreign language, so I'm going to read this to you.
Gudekult, der har eksisteret
That existed for thousands of years.
i tusindvis af år. Der er fundet
Traces of it have been found all over Europe.
spor af den. Og det er tydeligt,
And it is evident that it was prevalent here in Denmark.
at den her i Danmark har været noget helt særligt. Og
And a very central figure of this mythology
en helt central figur i den her mytologi er
is this guy. He's going to show us a picture of Cernunnos.
ham her. Lepusmanden.
Lepus man, as he is called, the hair man. Now we saw all this, didn't we, at the Goddard base tunnel? Remember that shaggy guy came out with all the hair and they were like running around like beasts? And then there was the green man that showed up. They were basically, that was a Cernunnos ritual. Think about it for a second. Digging holes underground. It's the below of the upper tree. The below, as above, so below. You're digging tunnels in the ground. It's like a root system. And this is what they were celebrating. Let's keep watching here.
Som man kalder ham. Harman. Han er
There he is right there. There's Cernunnos, the horned god.
fundet nede på øen Enehøje, nede ved Nakskov i 1953. Og han er dateret til at være 14.000 år gammel.
14,000 years old. Now, she realizes that the disappearance of her sister is linked to the spring equinox cult. And they do this, they sacrifice her sister so that they can open a portal, which is what CERN's trying to do, right? Watch.
Gammel.
Hvad betyder tegnet?
Det er livets cyklus.
Says, what does the circle mean? Or what does the symbol mean? It's a circle of life.
Jeg kan lige tegne det for dig.
Let me draw it for you.
Her har vi så forårsjævndøgn, sommer, sol.
Spring equinox, summer solstice. So he's basically writing the 4 times of the year out on this circle. And then he's showing that, watch.
Det her har til alle sider.
They've been cardinal points throughout human history. North, south, east, west, he's talking about.
I hele
And spring, summer, winter, fall.
menneskehedens historie var equinox.
Forårsjævndøgn.
Spring equinox.
Forårsjævndøgn. Verden ville stå åben. Og det var nu,
Sounds like he said Odin.
at guderne de kunne manifestere sig og kræve.
So they said that the gods would appear and demand what's theirs.
Deres Ostara.
Then he draws Ostara figure. Now, who is Ostara? This is the circle of life, or whatever you want to call it. Some call it a Triskelon. Well, Ostara is Easter. Spring equinox. Oh, look at this. Artemis class attack cargo ship. Artemis is the twin sister of Apollo, by the way. Those of you know that who follow this channel. Now, let's keep going, because there's more.
varefigur. For at livet kunne genfødes.
So life could be reborn in a figurative sense. So this is rebirth under the enemy, not the true rebirth under Christ, being born again.
Det skulle jo ske igen.
Happens over and over, year after year. Now this is her as a little girl, and she was having these visions of Cernunnos in her dreams. In the trees. Watch this. Now I cut a lot of this out. A lot of this imagery is very troubling. So you're getting the PG version of all this, okay? But watch this. Here's the actual ritual. And her and her friends go to this island. And they identify her as Ostera, which is a play on the name Ashtaroth. All of this is mentioned in the Bible about fertility, about the spring sacrifice. They're handing out eggs to everybody to see which one is Ashtaroth. And that's her sister who went missing, who became the sacrifice. They give her an egg, and the egg stands upright on its own, signifying that she is Ashtaroth. Ostera has been found. Ida, let's go. This is too crazy. Let's go. Come on. So now I'm going to pause here because now you realize, unfortunately, because our church isn't warning us about these things, right? Now you realize why we have to look at this stuff. Now you realize why you can't just only read your Bible and be in a church, because they're not warning you about all this stuff. In fact, they're having you celebrate it all. They're allowing the pagan attachment to Jesus' name with the painted eggs and the rabbits and Ashtaroth. They are allowing it. They're not condemning it because they've already been compromised. The only way you're going to hear this warning is from people like us who are examining the enemy and what he's doing and how he's deceiving the body of Christ and warning you about it. It's the only way you're going to know all this stuff, because the church isn't telling you. She says it's a great honor. And there's the rabbit, the Easter rabbit, right? Ghetto Easter rabbit, I guess you can call him. They're painting them all up with black ash, which is signifies the black goo, and then he has ritualistic fertility relations with her. Notice how she's dressed like a bird. She got a rabbit with a bird. So obviously I'm not going to play the part where the rabbit does what he does, but needless to say, this is sick stuff, isn't it? These are the roots of Easter. Never had anything to do with Jesus. Jesus' death was wrapped into this fertility cult as a form of mockery. And here, none of the churches are telling you don't paint an egg or don't get rabbits during Easter. They're not telling you. Well, how do you think this makes God feel? I'd be pretty upset. So that was most of today's show, kind of a mishmash of several series that I wanted to take a look at based on some requests that you guys had sent in. Let's play a little bit more this year. This is her younger sister trying to solve her disappearance, noticing that 21 students went missing that night, that lined up with the 21st of March, which was when they went missing, which was on the spring equinox. She's mapping it all out. Now here's this, obviously this is programming to make us all look crazy, because the people that are actually seeing all this stuff and realizing the connections, we're mapping all this out, aren't we? And so they want us to seem crazy, don't they? But we're not. We're just being revealed truth, and it's being proven over and over again. Watch.
And you're usurping the throne.
So that was it on the equinox. So thanks to the subscribers who kept on me about that. Now here's the weird thing. I had watched this series, but the only thing I was really able to pull out of it in terms of symbolism was that particular ritual. And I think I skipped over decoding it because I'm like, well, you guys already know about Easter. But I'm glad that we looked at it again because it's very important. Now, to wrap up today's show, we're going to look at the season finale of the new Game of Thrones prequel called House of the Dragon. Watch this.
It was my husband's dying wish. Believe it or no, it is of no consequence. Aegon will be king. Believe it or no, it is of no consequence. Aegon will be king.
So a lot of the plot line in this new series we're not really going to get into, but basically it's all about the queen. It's the queens are the theme. Now that's no different than the original Game of Thrones series. It was focused on the queen, but this is kind of weird because this is the year that the queen died, isn't she? Didn't she? So this other queen tries to usurp the throne by placing her heir, whose name is Aegon, on the throne as king, and tries to steal it away from the Black Queen, which is another lady that they just want to kill off because they don't want a female on the throne. Now, we were just talking about Aegon, weren't we? Who received the World's Fair coin, of which there are two, in a deleted scene in Ghostbusters. Watch. This is Aegon Spengler. We were just talking about this because we were studying the World's Fairs, weren't we? We found the scene where this lady gives him a coin from the World's Fair, the 1964 World's Fair, which is what we were covering. There were two coins, Gemini coins. Of course, this happened at Corona Park, Flushing Meadows, where Trump grew up. A lot of weird synchronicities when it comes to him and that whole Corona Park, which is where he was under the president under which we had Corona. Now, if you think that that's, oh, who cares, Casey? A lot of people grew up in Corona Park. Well, don't you think it's weird? Oh, what a cute cat. Looking out the window. Sorry, guys. Cute little calico. I got to take a picture of this cat and send it to you guys. He runs around in the bushes here. I don't know who he belongs to, but it's a very beautiful, fluffy kitty. So I'll get a picture of him and put it up on Instagram for you guys as soon as he reappears. But anyway, sorry, I got off track there. What was I talking about? Oh, so... Casey, how is it that you can, say Corona Park, and just because under Trump is where we had Corona, and that means anything? Well, guess what? Are you ready for this? Guess when George Bush was born, under the president under which the towers fell? He was born on the exact day and year that the board of governor, Dewey established the board for the World Trade Center. It was the very earliest mention of the World Trade Center, under which they would plan it all out, plan out all the buildings and the concept of a World Trade Center, the exact day and year. So essentially, it was his birthright for them to fall under his presidency. So if you think all of this doesn't mean anything, it absolutely does mean something. So let's keep going with this, because there's more.
When the queen dies, the bees fly without purpose. It must be taken out at the head.
When the queen dies, the bees go about without purpose. You got to take her off at the head. Unbelievable. It's like they knew she was going to die this year. Now, what does Aegon mean? Ready for this? I was on the floor when I saw this. Aegon means edge of the sword. Kind of sounds like tip of the spear, doesn't it? I know the tip and the edge are two different things, but interesting nonetheless. Interesting. Now, everything we talked about today is going to segue really well into tomorrow's show, because we are going to be going back over another serpent in the chest, or edge of the spear, tip of the spear, whatever you want to call it, in Alien Prometheus and Alien Covenant. And look at this. We're going to cover this tomorrow. The tip of the spear. The pathogen. The Hydra in the chest. Whoa. The Hydra in the chest. The Pan's pipes. Cut from Syrinx, Artemis's nymph. It's all there. It was there the whole time. Now, we had covered the Alien series before, but we didn't see that, did we? So, we're going to go over that tomorrow. More confirmation. This is all about infection with the serpent blood. It always has been. It's always been about the tip of the spear, poking us with things, preparing us for the twin spirits. That's what it's always been about. All right, I'm in the chat now. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for showing up. Wow. Now, to prove to you that this isn't about what I think the truth is, remember, everybody was coming to me saying, Casey, you got to look at the Hydra. You got to look at the Hydra. And you know what? I was reluctant. I'm like, there's no way. I mean, this thing would have showed up in everything, wouldn't it have? And I was like, I was in denial. So guess what? Now we're not in denial anymore, are we? There's too much symbolism. Why would they be putting up all the symbolism if it wasn't true? Why would they? Now, I do know that the graphene plays a part in this, and I don't know exactly how. But understand that there will also be misinformation out there to make us look silly. And that's where I drew the line with people attaching things to themselves. I drew the line there because I just thought that might be something that they're trying to make us look silly with, right? And so I do have to apologize to maybe I had made a joke about it and maybe mock some people who really thought something was attaching to them. And I want to say I'm sorry. I want to say I'm sorry because that's not what we should be doing. But in the beginning, it just sounded so silly. But now we're seeing this black goo and this graphene element to all this, aren't we? And somehow this does fit in because the Bible even does say they will mix steel with watery clay. Well, what do you think the steel is? It's the iron needle. And whatever comes in through the needle, it's the hollow reed. It's the syrinx, the syringe, isn't it? cut from Artemis, the twin sister of Apollo. Who keeps telling us he's Apollo? We all know who Apollo is, don't we? Omega Man on the 66th floor. So, whew, man, what a show today. I'm glad we're back live, because, you know, sometimes I want to like talk when we're doing the live shows or the playlist shows. I want to like talk in the background, but I don't have my mic plugged in, so I'm like, man, should I pop on here? And now I'm like, no, just let the playlist play. But then we're in the chat, so I'm focused in the chat, so that's kind of fun because we get to pretty much hang out for like 4 hours in the chat. So, but it is nice to be back live, you know. So, I love all you guys. All right, what do you guys want to talk about? T-Man on a 9-year cycle. Yeah, they're still pushing it. Well, you know, you guys, this isn't the end of it. I know that, or it feels like it's over, but I don't think it is, because they're already starting to fire up all the rhetoric again. And so pretty soon we'll be kind of right back where we were. I don't think they'll be able to get it to the point to where it was, you know, 2 years ago, but they are going to fire it back up again on some level. I mean, as it sits now, guess what? You can't come into America without a Pokemon sticker. You're not allowed. You can go to other countries without one. I was like thinking, man, I wish I could go visit Mark over in England. So I looked it up, and I think England and France both, you could go there from America without a sticker. But people there can't come here without a sticker. And it's weird because, guess what? There's a big wall that was just built. And people that don't have a sticker who might want to come in, guess what? It's going to be 10 times harder for them to come down through the southern border. So in effect, we were right about that. The wall was built to keep things in and to keep things out. Maybe not to the degree that we thought it was, but very, very close to that. And I believe that that whole dynamic is also going to change in the coming years as well. It will be more about keeping us in than keeping people out, is what I'm trying to say. All right, you guys. Well, let me get started on tomorrow's show. I love each and every one of you. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care and be safe.